Come up with the idea.
College.
And all the neighbors would come.
Forever says, I need someone to walk through this. I have an idea.
He'd up guitar and he never
Stuffed animals.
He would laugh when I would do Shakespeare or something.
I kind of got to that place.
We finished the scene.
Hi, I'm Dee Wallace, also known as Dee Wallace Stone, originally born as Deanna Lee Bowers, back in Kansas City, Kansas, in 1948. Yes. And I was raised in a very poor household. For many years of my life, we lived with my grandma and grandpa because we couldn't afford our own place. Absolutely. Yeah, this really is little me in a big body. In the middle, I lost little me for a long time. And I lost the joy and the light. But I have it back now. So I think I always knew it. I always wanted to be a dancer. That's what I wanted to do first. And I was soloist with a couple of companies in Kansas City. But ultimately, I was a very big fish in a little pond, and I'm built like a gymnast, so it wasn't going to go all the way. But that's what I wanted to do, and my mother was a wonderful actress in Kansas City and did a lot of community plays, and she directed and produced all of the religious plays at our church. So I started out as baby Jesus, and I ended up as the Virgin Mary. And Grandma did the costumes, and Daddy did the scenery, and, you know, so I think I was born, and as soon as I could talk, I went, is there something creative to do? I would say, sorry, my mom first. We were really poor, and she would barter her services. She would write the poetry and do dramatic readings of the poetry in between the dances and my recitals so that I could get free dance lessons and somehow found a violin somewhere so that I could take violin through the schools, which is ultimately so important. I wish our schools would get back to incorporating more of those things now. And she was just really my first mentor. My father was creative in a whole other way, but my father was very damaged by the time I came along, damaged from the war. He was an alcoholic. But he was also a huge influence because he was unbelievably creative. And I think, you know, you had this creative, wonderful beingness that had to go to war. And he served in the Red Cross, and I wasn't around then, but, you know, Mom used to say he just never was the same when he came back. And so I learned a lot of creativity from my father. And he would say, you can do that, Dee Dee. You can do that. You can be up there. They always just went, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And then, of course, later, you can do it, but do it in Kansas. You know, I started modeling. I won my first award, I think I was 2. I brought a picture, I don't know, but I had this little shawl over me. It was called The Refugee. And they told me stories about my dog dying, and I, you know, like Jimmy, you know, the infamous story and all that to get these pictures. I earned money. I really helped support my family from the time I was 4 with modeling, and I was the Dell Comic Queen, Dell Comics was a subsidiary of Walt Disney. So whenever they would come in the Midwest, I would take pictures with Gene Autry and Robert Wagner and all these people. But I remember when I was in high school, they wanted me to go to New York to model for 17. And I had just made cheerleader. And I said, Mom, I just want to be cheerleader. And not another word was ever said about it. Oh no, they never forced me to do anything. They only encouraged. Well, this is Hal Prince's assistant. And Mr. Prince received your pictures and letter, and he would like to fly you to New York to audition for our play.
Well, a lot of that story is based on
My biggest break moment would have to be, well, it's two things kind of combined, actually. I played a hooker. It was called The Hooker on Lou Grant episode. And I had to go back 5 times. It was my first really big guest star role. And it was an amazing, amazing part. And that aired the night before they had the final auditions for Blake Edwards 10 with Dudley Moore. And they had not been able to find Mary Lewis, the girl at the bar. Well, I graduated from the University of Kansas and got a teaching degree and taught a year of high school and thought, if I don't get out of here, I'm never going to get out of here. So in the library, we got the New York Times at the school that I taught at. And there was this article that Hal Prince was looking for an unknown to star in what would become A Little Night Music. So I had a friend, such an embarrassing picture. I had a friend of my brother's who shot pictures for the school newspaper come over and take these cheesy, cheesy pictures of me, you know, my idea of what a New York actor shot would be. And I wrote this amazing letter to Hal Prince, and I said, just think of the publicity. An unknown from Kansas. Now, I had already planned to go to New York, okay? I had saved up my money all summer long and bought this coach ticket weeks in advance so I could get the lowest price. 3 weeks later, I get this call, and they're asking for Miss Wallace. And I said, well, this is she. And, well, this is Hal Prince's assistant. And Mr. Prince received your pictures and letter, and he would like to fly you to New York to audition for our play. And I said, wow. I said, well, what day does he need me there? And she gave me the date, and I went, oh, this is great because I've already got my ticket, and that's the day I come in. So can I just come straight there from the plane? And she went, well, Mr. Prince could fly you in a couple of days earlier, Dee. And I went, oh, no, I don't want him to spend that money. You know, that's how I was raised. So my first day in New York, I took my 3 bags of everything that I owned in this world, put them in a taxi and said, could you take them to this address, please? Because I have to go to Rockefeller Center. The taxi driver went, yeah, sure. And they got there. I went to Rockefeller Center, got down to the last 5 girls, and then Mr. Prince came in and said, well, all right, Mr. Prince is coming. We'd like you to sing for Mr. Prince now. I went, oh, do we have to sing? And he said, well, dear, it is a musical. So I said, oh, well, I just got here from Kansas, and I don't have a song. So my first day, I sang Happy Birthday for Hal Prince very badly, I might add. They said, honey, what key? And I went, somewhere in the middle. But by the time I left that place, I know I sound like such a blonde, don't I? But I'm not really. It's just I had a singing teacher and an acting teacher. I had all the information that I needed and 5 really good friends who were going, we got to help this girl. I mean, I got my agent because I met a guy at this audition, and I really liked him, and he invited me to this Halloween party. By the end of the Halloween party, these 2 people come up to me, and they said, here's our card. We'd really like you to come in and see us next week. And I went, oh, okay, what do you do? And they said, well, we're the Marge Fields agency. Well, at the time, it was the biggest commercial agency and also acting, but they were interested in me for commercials. I booked a United Airlines commercial. I'll show you what I did. That's it. Made like $20,000, and I was on my way. And then I had all this dance training, so I went to this open call for a thing called the Milliken Show. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but the Milliken Show was the biggest industrial that a gypsy, a dancer in New York, could do. Go in, audition, and am accepted to the Milliken Show, which is how I got my equity card. This was all within like 6 months. My producer, Dan Blatt, from The Howling, called and wanted to know if I would star in Cujo. And but after that, it was kind of a struggle. I think before that, I played astronauts, I played hookers, I played call girls, I played white trash.
We were just getting it together. Construction. My mom and dad dancers, but going up.
Well, I think it's actually a continual struggle of, wanting to be back in that top place that I was at one point, and at the same time knowing that that's not what it's about for me as a person and as a being, that just being here and being me is enough. The first bump in the road would have to be E.T., strangely enough. From the time I left Kansas to the time I did E.T. was just a little over 4 years. I didn't even have a SAG card to the biggest blockbuster of all time in 4 years. It's a pretty amazing story. And then I thought, wow, I'm home, and nothing happened. And nothing happened, and nothing still happened. I mean, I went on to do Cujo from the momentum of E.T., but I had in the interim done The Howling before I did E.T., and my producer, Dan Blatt, from The Howling, called and wanted to know if I would star in Cujo. And but after that, it was kind of a struggle. I think before that, I played astronauts, I played hookers, I played call girls, I played white trash. I did everything. And then the mother in E.T. was so quintessential in a way for everybody. I became everybody's mom, or the mom that everybody wanted, or wished they had had when they'd grown up, or, it was the yin and yang of life. But I think really it's a representation of all our lives, because we all come in with this beautiful light of just the beingness of who we are. And then life happens, and we're all put at choice at some moment in our life about, are you going to learn the lesson, or are you going to keep focusing on the shit? If you look at a lot of people's lives, maybe that little Deanna Bowers from Kansas just felt like she was getting too much. I don't know. I do know from the work that I do that it's all about me. That life is a direct reflection of what you hold and the beliefs that you have, unconditionally. So anything that comes into my life, I only look within myself to find out how to heal it. So I do know that. And quite truthfully, I probably wouldn't be doing the healing work that I'm doing now if I hadn't been faced with that challenge of trying to understand what happened, One day I just got really, I gave up. I let go. I fell to my knees in my dining room and I said, I don't want to be angry anymore. I want my light back. And it's like a big zipper in the universe just opened up and all this information started being channeled to me. Seriously, half the time I was getting information, I didn't even know what I was getting. I would have to go look it up in books. I would be given words and didn't know what words meant. But all this was happening when I started the Dee Wallace Acting Studio. So I had 80 students all at one time that helped me develop this amazing healing work that I do now. And I want to pay honor to all of them that helped me through those 8 to 10 years. And it's a process. And I can tell you what it is that I still have some beliefs that all of that's under the bridge now, and it's been so long since I've been involved in, as far as starring in a really major blockbuster, you know, and I know that that has nothing to do with it. That's not quite, I haven't quite let it go from my energies. I can feel it as I'm sitting here, so that'll be the first thing I do when I leave the chair is, why the heck am I still in that shit? I have a belief that I have to take care of all the men that I'm with. Well, that ultimately is going to go across every subject in my life, that I'm going to have to take care of it. Oh, see, I just got hit with...
We were just getting into construction. My mom and dad dancers, but
up and out. I just want to expand. I want to be the greatest love and the happiest joy and the most satisfied and complete person I can be. I mean, it really is so freeing, you know, when you just want to give it up. And somebody is saying, my gosh, you look really good. They always sound so surprised. And I look at my pictures from 10 years ago. I look so much better now because my energy is so much more happy. Things would happen in class, and I just became more clairaudient, and I would be able to look at a scene and literally, when somebody had a block to something they were doing in the scene, it's like those lenses that pull you apart from the background, and that's what I would feel like. And I'd stop the scene and go, there's a block here somewhere. We started out with kinesiology. We moved on to using the pendulum so everybody could test with me at the same time. And it was quite unbelievable, and I still find it unbelievable to this day when I do the seminars that people will come up, I don't even know their names, and they just have to give very little information, and we go to an age, and we go to the person, and we go to when the block started, and it's like this huge release, and then that energy's lifted out of their energetic system, because your energy has to get cleaned up before what I call the 3D world shows up the way you want it to. So the money and the health and the relationships and all of that. And as you do anything, you do everything. So if there's a block in one area and you release it in that area, let's say I have a belief that I have to take care of all the men that I'm with. Well, that ultimately is going to go across every subject in my life, that I'm going to have to take care of it. Oh, see, I just got hit with... Sorry, incoming. We call it an incoming. That's going to be a block there that's holding people from coming forward to take care of me. And I coined this wonderful word, that I love Recigive, because we look at giving and receiving as two different things, and they happen within the exact same moment. That as I'm giving to you, you're receiving from me, see? You can feel the connection, and so it is with the universe. As you're giving, the universe is already giving back, but you have to receive that. Some people want to heal and some people don't. And there's no good or bad to that. It's just some people are happy in the shit. That's why they keep looking at it. You know, and it occurred to me when I was writing the book, I had gone to Uta Hagen and I had gone to Jeff Corey, and I loved them all. But they all taught me acting from my head. And when I found Charles Conrad, he said, don't think about it, read it one time, don't know what you're doing. It was all based on getting your energy really high so that your mind couldn't come into play. And that's when I discovered, that's when I became free as an actor. The whole, well, all my work on anything that anybody's ever seen, that's the technique I've used, which is exactly what you have to do to receive the higher information. I think, one, we love to be in the drama. We love to keep ourselves in the drama, because if we can keep ourselves in the drama, then we can keep trying to get out of the drama, and we feel like we're accomplishing a lot then. And yet, at the same time, we keep asking ourselves, why can't my life just be blissful all the time? For example, I did a seminar, and I had this lady come up, and I'd never met her, and she said, I will do anything to be healed from this illness that I have. I didn't even ask her what the illness was. But we did the work, and within minutes, it was, you got to forgive these two people. And she looked at me. I'm going to act it for you because it's so powerful. She looked at me and went, I'll never forgive them. And I said, well, wait a minute. You just said, I will do anything to heal from this sickness. Well, I won't friggin' forgive them. And I just turned to the audience and said, and that's what it looks like when you make a choice. It's really about choosing. It's really that simple. Healing is simple.